Hey everyone, so in my last video I said I probably wouldn't make another GBL Masters video, but this team actually worked pretty well for me, so I figured I'd highlight it. It's pretty similar to my last team in my last video, so if you haven't seen it, you could check it out. I'll link it in the description, probably somewhere on this video as well. Essentially, I swapped out Giratina for Snorlax, and you can take a look at the movesets on the screen right there. I talk a little bit about the justifications of my movesets in my last video for Heatran and Dialga, and for Snorlax, I actually kind of like it with Superpower just because you can really take people off guard if they don't shield it, and it prevents your opponents from farming you down once you have the debuffs on your defense. The main drawback of having Superpower and Body Slam is that you won't really be able to do much to the Giratinas except with licks. And for Giratina Origin, that's not so bad. For Giratina Ultra, that can be a little trickier because Giratina Ultra can hit Snorlax with neutral damage with Ancient Power and Dragon Claws from the charge moves at least. So keeping those things in mind, I went with this team, and these are all opponents I matched up with when I was over 3,600 battle rating. Pretty much all these players are pretty top notch and they've been doing GBL for quite a bit. And I was able to go on an 11-0 run with this team, which is definitely my best streak since hitting Masters. So yeah, we'll get into the matches. So going into this first matchup, early on I was safe switching Dialga a lot, but later I realized that Snorlax is probably a better safe switch because but this is not actually a situation where I had the safe switch. So they go in with Groudon, and I kind of panicked a little bit because I really wasn't sure what to bring in. Usually I bring in Giratina, but in this situation I wasn't too sure if Snorlax would be better or Dialga would be better. So I decided to go with Dialga, mainly because you could do quite a bit of damage with Dragon Breath. And the thing with Groudon that is a little tricky, I mentioned this in my last video, is you can't really bait with Groudon. Best case scenario is you could bait like an Earthquake when you're trying to use when you're trying to bait a solar beam against like Kyogre or something. But in this situation, he's going to go Earthquake every time. And then so he double shields, and I bring in Snorlax. And the reason I bring in Snorlax is because I was thinking, okay, if I can potentially, get off two superpowers or a superpower and then swap out. But I didn't realize that my opponent had Giratina in the back. And so this is where it gets tricky. I'm going to throw the Stone Edge, and Stone Edge does quite a bit of damage to Giratina, like I mentioned in my last video, which is a big reason why I decided to run Stone Edge on Heatran over Iron Head. Sorry, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb in this match. Actually, this doesn't look like the best situation for me, but because Snorlax is so tanky, it's able to do quite a bit of damage with these Body Slams. And before, like I said, I had Giratina in this slot in my lineup, so that would have definitely been a bad situation for Snorlax. And so, but this is pretty good, just because even with Flamethrower, I'll be able to take out this Togekiss. It was a good move for my opponent to use Flamethrower though, because I'm pretty sure it's a better damage move. And they're only going to get to one anyway. So that was the first matchup. Going against Melmetal, I actually kind of enjoy going against Metal with Heatran, and the main reason is because this is very obviously superpower. Like that wasn't even close to even a bait. But a lot of time people will switch out, and then what I noticed is also a lot of people switch out into Giratina, and you'll see in my next few matchups too. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't bring Snorlax as much in Master League, at least earlier. Actually, in the past few matches, I've seen more Snorlax. But overall, there's not as many Snorlaxes as you'll probably see, I don't know, Dialgas or Giratinas, Togekiss. So that's kind of why a lot of people just safe swap, thinking that they can potentially do some Shadow Ball damage or something if it was a Dialga, which is usually what people counter with. With Snorlax, you do quite a bit. So I'm going to bait a Body Slam right here, hoping they shield, and they do. And now they're shieldless, which is, or actually no, not shieldless, it's up one. But I'll be able to do quite a bit of damage here and get off another superpower too. And I think this will probably KO my opponent unless they shield. And so they decide to expend both shields. At this point, they're going to have to drop a superpower on me, and they're going to be super debuffed. And then I'm not going to shield because they're already debuffed and it's not going to do nearly as much damage. And then they bring in the Dialga. I'm going to drop a Flamethrower on my opponent, and then I'm probably going to switch to my own Dialga and just kind of farm it down. And that's pretty much what I'm going to do here. I'm going to shield because if it's a Draco Meteor, it would have been bad, but it wasn't, and that's fine. And the Melmetal's pretty much almost out. Even if it's a superpower right here, which it likely is, it's not going to be enough. And then also like my Heatran's still in the back too, and that would have been able to pretty much take it down with Fire Spins. Oh, sorry, I forgot to note too. I'm actually not at home right now, so there won't be any cat appearances in this video, unfortunately. But so if you're here for the cats, you might as well quit out the video now. So again, another Heatran versus Melmetal lead. I usually shield anyway, just because even if it's Rock Slide. Rock Slide does a decent amount of damage against Heatran because it's neutral damage, because of the fire typing as well, even though it steel resists. And again, a lot of people love safe switching Giratina. And so I don't really have good moves against it. I think I might end up dropping a Body Slam right here. Yeah, so I do. And the main reason I do this is because if this Giratina gets a boost, it's going to be just much harder for me to take it out with just licks. And so I'd rather drop a Body Slam earlier so it does more damage. If I drop Body Slam later with a boost on, it's not going to be as good. So I'm going to drop a Body Slam right here, trying to draw shield, and I do, which is good. I think my opponent is smart to shield though in that situation. I definitely had enough energy. And then I go in quickly and go in with a Flamethrower. They hit me with a Rock Slide, which is pretty solid, because it's not going to do nearly as much damage. And they shield again, and that's really interesting to me because, yeah, I don't know, I just didn't expect it. So I'm going to shield this right here, and the main reason is because even though I know they have a Giratina in the back, the Giratina is pretty low. So I'm going to, yeah, so it has charging priority here because I'm pretty sure Giratina Origin has a pretty high attack compared to Heatran. I'm still going to use the Stone Edge, and then now I have a full health Dialga versus his Dialga, and then I go in quickly for the switch, and then, oh, okay, I guess I go for the Iron Head. And the main reason behind this is because I know that even if they hit me with a Draco Meteor, they're going to be out of energy. So they kind of have to hit me, drop their energy as well. And then at this point, I just go in with the Heatran, and they're out. So yeah, I thought I was going for Draco Meteor, but that actually makes sense why I did that. Okay, again, people like leading Togekiss or Melmetal, and so that makes Heatran a really solid lead for the most part. Heatran definitely struggles a little bit more against Giratina leads, and again, people love to safe switch Giratina. I'm pretty sure a good chunk of my wins in this video were just because of a Togekiss lead with a safe swap Giratina. That's what a lot of my opponents did. So definitely worked out. Given the composition I had, I definitely was glad that I made the switch to Snorlax. I can't remember if I just straight up farmed this one down or not. The main reason I don't want to drop too much energy is because I want to have as much energy as I can for double superpowers. There's really not much that could come in that can threaten this Snorlax without having to shield, or without the Snorlax putting shield pressure on with this much energy banked. And we go in. I think I go in with a Body Slam thinking that I'm trying to bait it. And well, it's surprisingly my opponent does not shield, which is very gutsy of them. And then I go in with another superpower, and they shield that one. So had I just gone in with two superpowers, that would have been disastrous for my opponent. But I don't know, they read me really well there, surprisingly. Yeah, so now I'm going to go in with Dialga. And the reason why, I'm trying to think, I think I just wanted energy on it, and then, yeah, I don't know. But I guess that makes sense. Because I want to save the Heatran for the Togekiss. And now they have a lower health Giratina, and they're going to have to shield this. And so they're going to shield right there. They can't even farm that much because they're pretty low on health. And I'm actually up still 2 shields, actually, which is puts me in a really solid spot. And so I believe I just farmed down this. Oh no, okay, I just swapped, which is kind of a waste of my previous shield, I guess. But that's fine. And then right here, I choose not to shield. And the reason behind that is because if they take me out with superpower, they'll be debuffed, and I have a Heatran with a shield. Worst case scenario is if they superpower me, I shield it, they superpower again, and then, you know, they can, or they bait with a Rock Slide. Either way. So going in with Heatran again into Togekiss. And so when they swap Dialga, this is actually interesting. I don't want to swap my Dialga in right away because it puts me at a significant health disadvantage. I guess I thought I was going to bait with Iron Head. So this works out really well because now at this point, I'm just not going to switch out. And I'm going to maintain some energy advantage. Either way, I know they're not going to bring in their Togekiss again, but I have enough energy for a Stone Edge. So they're going to bring in Giratina. And in this situation, I'm going to bring in Dialga. And the reason why I bring in Dialga is because they're going to bring in Togekiss, and they're going to have to shield one of these Iron Heads. So it's going to put me in a good situation. And then I'll have Heatran in the back, and then I have Snorlax that can just pretty much take out this Giratina, even if he saves any shields. So I don't really need to worry about saving shields for my Snorlax. And so I go in with Heatran. Like I said, have a Stone Edge ready. And I'm going to shield this just in case it's... I think Flamethrower would do quite a bit of damage actually there. I don't think it would be enough, but if they shield it and just keep charming down, that could be bad. And so right here, I'm going to go in with Heatran again and throw it on a Stone Edge. Going to do quite a bit of damage. Opponent does not shield. That's fine. And then I'm going to let them take me out right here and then bring in the Snorlax. I'm pretty sure once they see the Snorlax, they're going to realize it's kind of over. Yeah, so not really anything you could do at this point. Shadow Balls or Ominous Winds, anything. So going against Ace Leader Sky right here. Never played Ace Leader Sky before, but I know he's a top player in California. So luckily I was able to win the lead against him. This is not a terrible situation for him, but he does do a quick swap, and Kyogres do quite a bit of damage with just their fast attack, so you really have to be kind of quick on those swaps. And then so he goes in, and I'm kind of nervous it's going to be a Blizzard, so I'm just going to shield that. And then I'm going to go in with an Iron Head because I don't want them to farm with a Blizzard and have to use another shield. And then now, the only reason he would shield is if he's going for another Blizzard, if he's actually going for Blizzard this time. So this puts me in a pretty good spot because now I'm going to be farming down. And then whatever he has, he's probably going to have to shield because I have both Draco Meteor and Iron Head. And so I'm going to throw a Draco Meteor. I believe he doesn't shield, and that definitely is a risky gamble, but I can see why he did because he's kind of down at this point. So I'm going to throw some Iron Heads, but this is a pretty good spot for me overall. I was able to actually get to another Iron Head too, but I can understand he's pretty much trying to farm me down. But it's going to be tricky against the Heatran too. And then so I go in straight for the Flamethrower. I'm just trying to deplete his energy at this point. So now I'm just going to be able to lick him down with just Snorlax. I don't have to worry about dropping any Body Slams or anything. And no matter what he throws at me, it's not going to be enough because I know that he depleted all the energy with Earthquake. So, good game to him. And going in, I'm going with Heatran against Togekiss again. It's actually pretty surprising how many lead wins I had in this set of matches. I don't know if I had a safe swap a single time yet. I'm trying to think. I might have. I mean, I'm sure it's going to come up in 1 or 2 matches. But all right, so my opponent goes with Thunder. That's a pretty good sign for me, just because I know that my opponent's not likely going to be able to take me out with any charge move. CMP, so or I just pressed it like a second too late. So otherwise, it probably would be better for me just farming down. But that's fine. They bring in the Togekiss. I have the Heatran still, so it's going to be pretty solid. And then I'm going to go in with the Heatran, and then they go in Giratina. So I'm going to shield right here, and the main reason is because I don't think my switch clock was up, and so I want to preserve that Heatran for later. And then of course right here, don't have to worry about having to shield anything because Giratina, and most players will probably try to get a boost or two early on. If not, they'll probably start throwing Shadow Balls because at that point it's not going to be worth it. And so my opponent unfortunately doesn't get a boost. Even with the boost, it's definitely an uphill battle against Snorlax. But yeah, that's kind of their only play. Also, sometimes spamming Ominous Wind's not a bad call because the reason is because it can essentially burn out the clock a little bit. And I go in quickly with the switch to Heatran right after my opponent burned their shield. And then now I'm going to be able to kind of go for a Stone Edge right here on the Giratina. Even if I was able to take out my Heatran, I still have the Snorlax in the back. So again, winning that lead call is definitely huge. It actually honestly made most of these matches pretty easy to play. Okay, all right, so I lose a lead call in this one finally. So I go in with Snorlax safe switch, and okay, so this is actually a really big issue for my team is Machamp. As you can see, Machamp could beat pretty much everything in my lineup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double shield. I need to win switch priority as well, although it's a little tricky with the Kyogre in the back because I am definitely worried that the Kyogre can hit my Dialga with a Blizzard, but luckily my opponent doesn't shield, which is interesting. So at this point, I'm gonna go in with my Snorlax and just use Body Slams. I know they're farming off of me, but it's not a big deal. I need to save this one shield for this Kyogre, and look, I was able to pull quick enough swap, so now they're actually low on energy as well. So I feel pretty comfortable that they probably can't get to a Blizzard. And so at this point, I figured it was probably a Surf anyway, but I didn't want him to just be able to like kind of take me out with just a bunch of Surfs as well if I don't shield. And so my opponent does shield here, but I figured that the chance of them to get into a Blizzard was pretty low given how much energy they still need. And so I was able to take him out there, and then I go in straight with the Iron Head, and then this will take out one of their shields, and I go switch in straight away, and I go in for the Stone Edge. And then, yeah, so even if they were to drop a Flamethrower or Energy Power me, it would be enough on the Heatran. So going into this matchup, I am I got the lead call again. So yeah, I mean Heatran is, I don't know, I don't see nearly as many Heatrans in Master League. I'm not sure if people don't have as good IVs on it, but I've really enjoyed using Heatran for the most part. I mean, it loses hard to the Giratinas and to Kyogre, but outside of that, it's actually pretty strong against the meta. Okay, so my opponent gets a boost right here. But like I said, a lot of people like to switch Giratina into Snorlax. And then, so I'm going to still try to, I'm going to drop some body slams just to kind of chip away because I don't want to take too much damage right here. I think eventually I'll probably either start farming or my opponent will probably switch out, which is not a terrible situation because they already have a boost and then puts me in a kind of a good lead situation, switch advantage. So I go in with yeah, just more body slams. My opponent actually shields, which is interesting. I actually really don't know why my opponent shielded in that one. Actually, it's questionable if I should have shielded there too, but you know, I'm just going to try to drop the superpower on my opponent just to maybe burn a second shield, and it does work. And then I swap out, and then now I have flamethrower. So I guess that was a good call. But yeah, so swapping out with the superpower debuff is a pretty solid move in my opinion for Snorlax. And then I'm not going to shield this because I still have the Snorlax in the back. And then, oh wait, I do shield. Why do I shield this? Did they lead? Oh, I think they led Togekiss, right? Yeah, okay, sorry. It's been a couple matches. Yeah, okay, they have Togekiss. Yeah, and then they decided to quit that match. That's to show you that I'm not just making up my streaks of 5. My other one was a streak of 4 in the first set, but I lost my first one, so I didn't show. I didn't save the claim rewards. But anyway, going into my 10th matchup, pretty solid lead again. Yeah, that clearly was a superpower based off of how fast it came out. You kind of almost gauge on how fast the energy's going up on your own charge moves. So it's kind of a neat little trick I like to do. And then so, again, people swapping Giratina Origins, safe switch, definitely makes it trickier. There's actually a good reason why to actually potentially run Giratina Ultra Form. I personally would run one. And I actually have one that's best buddied and 100% IVs, but I don't have enough rare candies to power it up and unlock a second move, unfortunately. So definitely will try to showcase that once I get the resources for it. I unfortunately just haven't been able to raid enough, and I don't know, Master League's just expensive. Okay, so going in, I'm going to throw a body slam, try to bait out a shield. My opponent actually doesn't shield, which is, I don't know, it's always interesting because it's definitely gutsy, but good call by them. And then I'm going to shield this anyway because I figure it's probably superpower. The first superpower is always the hardest hitting one, so it's always a good idea to throw that first shield. And then my opponent doesn't shield right there. And then I'm going to try to probably farm this Giratina down, but if it's a Shadow Ball, it's going to probably take me out. Oh, it actually doesn't, so that's good. I'm just going to drop the Stone Edge anyway. And the main reason is because I don't want them to farm me down and then have a bunch of energy. And then, so this is actually kind of a tricky spot. And the reason I say that is because this Dialga is on, okay, so I had to do a sack swap essentially. And the reason behind that, and they do use a Draco Meteor, which is actually perfect. And they use a Draco Meteor, and then, so yeah, that was pretty much the only way I could probably win that one, because if they hit me with Draco Meteor, I'm out. And then even though it has a debuff, my Snorlax probably won't be able to get to like 2 superpowers in time. So, yeah, that was definitely a close match, but that was pretty much my only play in that situation, and luckily I was able to pull it off right there. Okay, going into Heatran to Melmetal again. This one's trickier. It potentially could be Rock Slide, given the speed of it, but it is also a superpower. Sometimes people really overcharge. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. With Giratina Altered, this is going to be a much tougher matchup. So I believe I probably start dropping some body slams. So what I want to do though is feign that I have Earthquake. So I'm gonna pretend like I'm charging up for Earthquake. Then I'm gonna throw a body slam. The thing is, my opponent does not have superpower, so they shield now, right? And then now there's a good chance that they might think, oh, my next one's going to be an Earthquake. I can't remember if I get a double shield from him. He actually swaps out, right? And then so in that situation, that's not the worst case scenario because now I have superpower, and I don't remember if they shield or not, but I can't switch out. I actually could get to another superpower in time, which is good, and then they're shieldless at this point. And then I'm going to switch in straight away to Heatran. Kind of tricky just because that did quite a bit of damage, and then I'm just going to let the bubbles go by, and that way I was trying to farm it down, but unfortunately it was so low on health anyway. So again, Stone Edge is a pretty solid choice for Giratina. And then I'm gonna go in with Snorlax again with the licks, and I'm gonna try to lick this Giratina down or expend its energy. That's actually not a bad idea too, because now I have Dialga, and Dialga with energy is actually pretty solid. And then so he actually figures that he has to switch to his Dialga as well, and luckily I outpaced him to the Draco Meteor. I'm looking at his CP, so I think we have exactly similar IVs, so I either won a coin flip right there, or it was to get to like a sliver of a second faster. After that, I obviously lost, otherwise I would have posted more videos to it. But hopefully that's a lineup you can still try if you still want to try Master League. I know at this point we can kind of pick and choose which one we want to do, but also with season 1 coming up for Go Battle League, hopefully this video can be something that's useful for people later down the road as well. For our next video, I'll be covering Great League. I'm definitely running kind of a weird team there, so be on the lookout for that. If you like the content, feel free to like and share the video, and feel free to subscribe for future content, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.